So sorry for this, everyone. Hey there. Sure. Well, hello, everyone. I assume you can still hear me. Again, sorry for the mix-up. I don't know what it is, but I'm really happy to be here. My name's Ms Slade. I'm the Assistant Academic Director at Temple's Innovation Entrepreneurship Institute. So how the program got started, I believe it actually got started before I was there, so I can't speak to this from personal knowledge. But I believe we have an entrepreneurship major. So students can come to our business school. We have of course, all of the traditional business majors, and we also have entrepreneurship as a major. And some of you may be wondering, how can you teach entrepreneurship? But it really is about experimentation, listening to your customers, getting a broad view of the business, so you as an owner or manager can understand how the different pieces fit together. Because when you're starting a business, as you all probably know, you do almost everything, right? You can outsource some things, but you're responsible as the owner for a lot. So we wanted to give our students that firsthand experience. There's a lot of internship opportunities in big corporate settings. That's the traditional route, especially for business students. But there's not a lot of internship, and you could find an internship with a startup if you knew someone or if you pursued that opportunity. But there's not a lot of, places where students can go to get those opportunities if they're interested in working with a startup or perhaps founding their own business and they want to understand what that's like. So we founded the program as a way to give them that hands-on experience so they can say, yes, I've worked with startups before. I know I want to continue doing that. I know I don't want to continue doing that, but actually get that firsthand experience. Yes, of course. And going back to the startup environment, you have to, your supervisor as an intern at a startup may be asking you for ideas. Who are the competitors we should be aware of, or what customers should we go after? So it may be a very open-ended assignment or project that the intern is working on, because at a startup environment, again, you have to make the most of each person. You can't have someone just doing busy work. You need to actually assign them to a project. So I think that students get to understand whether they like having a little bit less structure and more responsibility, or whether they feel they need a little more structure, which maybe a traditional corporate environment would be more beneficial for them. So they definitely do. And actually, one of the unique things about the internship is actually paired with a course. So I meet them about every other week throughout the semester. And the first homework assignment is actually a list of competencies, and they have to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 3 for each competency, and then say why they rated themselves that way and how they might like to improve over the course of the semester. So we try to tie it directly to things that they want to learn and need to learn so they can see that progress over the semester for sure. Yeah, the ones I've seen that are the most successful probably are the ones that also take the most time. It's really hard, especially working with young people who need experience, right? You're not getting seasoned professionals in these internship roles. Although we do have some very high functioning students, they need coaching, and coaching just takes time. So we advise people to meet with their intern at least once a week. More is probably better if you can check in with the intern. More that helps with accountability, and also make sure, sometimes students may have questions, but they'll wait to the next meeting. So then you're running a week behind. So checking in with them, spending the time coaching, it's tempting to rush through things or understand or assume that they understand what the task is you want them to do. But a lot of times there are miscommunications. So I think just taking your time and realizing that, undergraduate interns, a lot of them do need coaching, so that you will have to spend time not only on their technical, practical skills, but also on their personality and their communication. If they don't respond to you in a timely manner, that's something you also need to work with them on. So it is a holistic approach in terms of it's not just a worker for your business, but you're really developing the person a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of pieces to this. Excuse me. There's a couple of pieces to this. So I'll go through them, and then if I skipped a piece or there's something you have a further question about, you can let me know. And again, with the caveat, I'm not a tax lawyer. I never was a tax lawyer, but I did look into these laws to make sure that we were running the program in a legal manner. Basically, it's illegal to use unpaid labor if you're just using unpaid labor, right? You have to pay people, or they have to in some way be compensated or benefit from whatever experience or labor they're providing. So we do have a lot of companies that do not pay their interns. And there's a couple reasons why that's okay in this setting. First, because we have a course paired with the internship. So they are actually getting course credit for this experience. So in that way, they are definitely benefiting from the internship beyond the actual experience here. They have a course, they're getting instruction, they're getting support in the internship, and they'll get a grade and credits at the end, assuming they pass, which almost everyone does, of course. And the other thing is we do part of the coaching I was mentioning, part of the development is that benefit to the intern. So even if it were not paired with the course, even if the internship were just solo, like over the summer or something, you can have unpaid interns if the intern is the primary beneficiary of the relationship. So that means giving the intern work that develops his or her skills, right? Not just grunt work. I had an intern one time who was taking snack inventory. That's not the type of thing we want them to be doing. So giving them tasks that build their skills, giving them coaching, giving them feedback, allowing them to sit in on client meetings to observe. So those are the types of benefits that you can give an intern, which still make it legal for you to have an unpaid intern. So those are the things to keep in mind. Another thing is just briefly to mention the difference between employees and independent contractors, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. But if you are telling the intern exactly what to do, when to do it, really monitoring them, maybe they work in the office with you and you're giving them close instruction, that's more of an employee relationship. So if that continues for an extended period of time, it probably becomes less like an internship and more like an employee-employer relationship. Whereas we have a lot of interns go on to continue to be independent contractors for their companies. If they have a successful internship, for example, there was a photography student. She was really good with design and doing all the visuals for the company. So she kept working for them on an independent contractor basis. They didn't tell her when to work. They didn't tell her where to work. She set her fees. They had that contractual relationship. So that is an independent contractor relationship that's not doesn't require the employee relationship and tax ramifications and things like that. The other thing, one more thing I think of, I believe, again, I'm not a tax lawyer, but my understanding is if you pay someone $600 or less, that is under some kind of casual labor category. It doesn't need to be reported. So please look into that. Don't take my word for that. But some companies do pay their intern a one-time stipend, usually under $600. So it's not that 1810 accelerator course. We actually have the course is called New Venture Internship. So it's not a very crazy name or anything. It's simply we meet eight times. We talk about being an entrepreneur, working in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, different types of funding or other business concepts they might need to know, and then a lot of professional skills and competencies. We do at the Innovation Entrepreneurship Institute have a range of other programs to support entrepreneurs not dedicated to that course, one of which is the accelerator program. So we have a co-working space, which we call the 1810 Accelerator. And then we have over the summer, a startup studio accelerator, which is about 6 weeks. So some of our teams that have done well in our competitions throughout the year may be invited to join the summer accelerator. And do you want pros and cons or just pros or cons? Okay. And I was thinking about this a little bit before this podcast, because I obviously putting some thought into what we were going to discuss. So for the companies, a lot of the advantages, it's low cost, right? You don't have to pay, or you can pay a very low amount for a semester. Our internships are about 100 hours. So you're looking at about 10 hours a week for 10 weeks. You get enthusiasm and energy from students. A lot of times they are really excited because this may be their first professional opportunity, or maybe they've had a couple in the past, but this is really taking them to the next level. And they want things to put on their resume, right? They crave that credibility. So they're enthusiastic, and also getting the most current skills. I know a lot of businesses need and want help with social media. I personally have no interest in doing social media for my business. So I think that you get those new, and whereas, students in their 20s, teens and 20s may be doing that, for fun, that's something they enjoy doing. So I think that you get those kind of current skills, including, software programs for images and things like that. One of the disadvantages is it does require coaching. And I think for people that are really busy, and may not have the time to devote to coaching someone, or maybe that's just not part of their personality, they may not feel as comfortable and rewarded by that experience, because it's not just someone who you can just throw work to and they're going to know exactly how to do it. You do need to explain it to them. And then there's not too many other disadvantages. Occasionally, students are students. Sometimes things happen and they're not able to complete something for some reason, but that's very rare. And I think for a lot of the companies, actually, I did a survey. I think it was about almost 50% were considering either they were going to keep working with the intern after the semester was over, or they may continue working with the intern. So that's a major benefit. Obviously, you can test out talent. There's an end point. So if you don't like the person after 10 weeks, the internship is over. But if you love them, that was a chance to test them out for 10 weeks. And same for the students. They've gotten employment opportunities, something on their resume, real experience. So it usually ends up being a win-win. Yeah, so I had, you mean from semester to semester, right? Yeah, I have data on that, and I'm trying to remember. I should have pulled up those reports before this podcast. It's quite a lot, though. I think we've actually added more companies, but I think it's about 60 or 80% that we have stay with us semester to semester. Now, sometimes people will say I can't take one this semester for whatever reason. That's fine, but we are also always getting new companies in the pipeline. So we haven't had a shortage of companies yet. Actually, we may have a shortage of interns. So that means that we're doing well and people like their interns and they want to come back. I think, hold on one second. Let me pull up this annual report here I just completed. All right, so last year, 2020 to 2021, we had 66 students and 49 companies. I would say primarily in Philadelphia and surrounding Pennsylvania counties, but we have some, I think we have one in Virginia. We have some scattered around the United States. So it just depends on how we get to hear about them. Usually it's through word of mouth. So if anyone listening here is interested in the program, you can feel free to contact me. But most of them are centered in this region. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I did forget, I had a friend in Gabon in Central West Africa who runs an accelerator there. So he was on the list. I wasn't able to get him an intern this semester, but he'll be on the list again. So yes, it's open to companies in any geography. And we also do have a separate program, which a colleague of mine runs, which is an international internship program. So if you feel like maybe you're not in the startup category, or the international is where you're more focused, I can also refer you to him as well. Right. I like it. I like it. Mm-hmm. Not I would say maybe of the 66 companies, maybe 4 or 5 had an international focus. We have one company, they I think handle a lot of medical tourism. I think it's actually Americans going abroad for medical procedures. So they wanted to have, materials in different languages and things like that. We had another healthcare focus, who was setting up a network for travelers who may need hospitals. So basically, there's no real database of all the international hospitals, whether they're good, whether they have certain facilities or equipment. So she was setting up that database for travelers. So we do have a few with the international focus, but it's not the majority, I would say. So I may ask for some clarification because I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of who the 9 faculty members are. Are they in strategic management, you think, or in the IEI? Mm, mm, mm. Okay, the entrepreneurship faculty. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. I know where you're going now. So it's actually some of those people are actually staff members. But we have in the entrepreneurship focus probably about 4 or 5 faculty members, and then we have about 2 staff members that work with us. So I'd have to look at the exact number to see who you're referring to, but I can talk generally about our division of labor. So someone like Dwight Carey, very experienced, he teaches a course how to open a business in 100 days, I think. So students can literally work on opening a business during the course of the semester. We have someone like Alan Kersner, who is actually the international internship professor. He has a course called Lean Startup. So again, students with a business idea will practice lean startup techniques like interviewing 20 customers and checking the value proposition for comprehension and things like that. So all of our classes are extremely practical and hands-on. We try not, there's no textbooks. We use videos and other engaging materials, articles, activities. So we try to have the students practice what they're actually learning. And then we have staff members like Lindsay who support our wonderful events and competition. Greg Fegley is actually the director of the accelerator. So he runs a lot of the competitions and also the accelerator program over the summer. So, and someone like Lindsay is really instrumental when we were having in-person events, getting all the logistics organized for the event so that people could come and hear live pitches from entrepreneurs, for example. Now we switched most of that virtually, but we definitely have kind of a tier of faculty, and then Greg being the head of the accelerator, and then staff members that support us in that program. So hopefully that answered your question. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. And a lot of it depends on the needs and of the individual business owner. So some people really like to chat and have a conversation before they enter the program. Some people are fine with just an email and filling out the form. So it really depends on what people need. But generally, so our process is usually I will have a chat with someone. I'll get an introduction from a friend or from another business owner, say, hey, you should chat with Carrie about this program. So we'll have a conversation much like this one where I give an overview of the program. They can ask questions. We can talk about what types of projects you're thinking about assigning to the intern. And we like it to be something they can complete in the semester. So they can help with other tasks in the business, but we like them to have a project they can feel like they at least completed something and have a work product and something they took responsibility for over the course of the semester. So we will have that chat. Then I'll send out next week. Actually, I'm going to be sending out the intake form. We're using Google Forms for now, which has worked pretty well. Maybe in a few years, we'll implement some other type of portal or other system, but Google Forms is working for us now. So you'll enter in the information, what's the title of the opportunity, the description of what you're looking for. And then what we like to do, we get the resumes from the students and they look at all the different internship opportunities and they rank their top 3 choices. And we endeavor to make a match. So the reason we do that is a couple reasons. One, it guarantees the students, people like choices. So if you give someone choices, they're going to, even if they get their 3rd choice, they're going to feel better than if you just assign them something that they didn't have a choice over. So students, young people, we all like choices. If you've been to the grocery store, you can see there's way too many choices. But it also avoids competition between students. So we want to avoid like 3 students in the class interviewing for the same position. And it takes the legwork out of the introduction for you. So we make a preliminary match. Then we say you should interview the student and make sure they're a good fit. And likewise, the student should feel comfortable with you as well. I've heard of some other internship programs where you get access to the candidates. So I would release, 20 resumes to you. And I'm sure that does have some advantages. Again, you get more choice in the matter, but then you also have to sort through those 20 resumes and try to compare them and make decisions. So I've gotten feedback that people like the matching process. It's actually easier for them. And then once you interview your student, you two decide you were going to work well together. You're pretty much off and running. And we do have check-in calls throughout the semester. So there'll be a time when you can talk with me. And you will give your student 2 reviews, once in the middle and then once at the end of the semester. Mm-hmm. One thing that helps with this is that the students are getting a grade. So if they totally blow off your internship, they will not pass the class. So that serves as some incentive. But of course, things do happen with students. For instance, we had one student who he had an interview. He said, yeah, I did some work on this. I'll send you the link. Then he realized the link was expired, so he couldn't get to his prior work, but he just never responded. So of course they didn't want to work with him because he just didn't respond he didn't even send them the email he said he was going to send. So in that case, I met with the student, the other professor met with the student. So we gave the student some coaching, and then we were able to set him up with another opportunity that was a little bit more, someone we knew a little better so they could really understand they needed to work with the student. One other negative thing, again, this is very rare, is a student completed an internship but then didn't send the final email. So there was still some information outstanding. So part of that is a learning experience for us as well. So now, since that happened with one student last semester, we're going to have a form in the final review. Did the student complete the internship? And if the student did 99% of the work but didn't send in the final project, then that's going to be accounted for in their grade. So a lot of it is using the incentive system to prevent that from happening. And we've reassigned interns as well. If people say that it's not going well, we can try to find you another intern midway through the semester. Sometimes we have students who join the program late or sign up late for the course. So we are able to be a little flexible. And I think it is one of the risks, right? You're working with college students. Sometimes people have to go take care of their grandparents or do something that prevents them from being committed to their courses. So it does happen. If you just keep in mind the low cost, the almost free labor aspect of it, it makes you feel better if something does happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you mentioned the graduate students, because I didn't mention, we don't have a class for graduate students, but we do have, we do try to get graduate students independent studies to do internships. So those would be people usually in our Masters of Innovation Management and Entrepreneurship program. So people who've worked for several years, they want to get into innovation management, they want to start their own business or work in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So those obviously are probably higher functioning than most undergrads. So there is a chance for some higher level work if companies are interested in that as well. And yes, so I can give you some examples. Well, we believe that you can teach how to innovate. So it's not just coming up with ideas. A lot of entrepreneurial thinking is about ideation and improving the ideas. And then there's also the pipeline of innovation of how you manage a project and ultimately commercialize it. So some of our courses relate to that. And one course I teach is called Innovation Intelligence, which is basically surveying the external environment, understanding what trends are pointing where, and then extrapolating where your company may have to focus its innovation efforts to be on trend in 10 years, right? Because you need to start preparing now for whatever you want to produce or sell in 10 years down the line. So we teach various ways of allocating. Another aspect is you don't want to focus all your innovation on the biggest, most risky innovation, because those experiments could fail. So failure is a natural part of innovating and being an entrepreneur. So you want to have some, quote, safer bets on innovation as well. And let me think about how this relates to the course. So one of the projects a graduate student did last semester is she was working for a medical device company. They have a new device for making cranial incisions. I think it's some kind of modernized drill, or it's better than a drill. So they really wanted to understand what kind of applications this was have and where would be their customers. And this was a little bit more of an entrepreneurial customer segment driven project. So basically analyzing among the customers, obviously, people doing this type of operation, who's buying, where are the strategic partnerships they could potentially make and build, and where are their competitors already selling that they may have some more challenges. So basically doing competitor and customer analysis for this medical device company on a high level. Now, for a graduate student, that is the type of project you can say, do a competitive analysis, and they should be able to do that, versus an undergrad intern may need a little bit more coaching on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And I recently gave a workshop on creativity, and the definition I'm working with is something novel and useful. So it's easy to think of a lot of novel ideas, but are they useful in a context? So we're going with novelty plus usefulness as creativity, or as an innovation that is useful. Yeah, and I think part of creativity is just tapping external sources outside of yourself. A lot of business owners, especially in small businesses, they run the whole business. They think of all the ideas, they execute most of the ideas, and it's not often that you may have advisors or other people who you can actually get different ideas from. So having a young person in your business giving you feedback and comments on your idea is helpful in and of itself. But so one example I can give is I had a student. He works. He's on the football team. But of course, he's very into athletics and health and wellness and all those things. And we have a wellness coach who participates in our program with her business. And she had been very focused on nutrition, mental health, but kind of in more of like a middle-class customer segment, more like the yoga mom type of thing. And he, as a football player, said, I think you could sell this to university athletic programs. Football players, sometimes, not all of them, but they're eating like hamburgers, cheesesteaks, pizza, egg and sausage for breakfast. So that is a little bit of a problem in terms of offering a solution with her business. So he has a whole plan to help her expand into university athletic programs, not just football, but all different sports, which can really impact the athletes and grow her business, amazingly at the same time. And that was an idea she hadn't thought of and also didn't have access to. She wasn't in the sports world. So having interns like that can really help bring new ideas and new access to your business as well. Mm. Oh. So there's a lot of interesting companies in our database. One I can highlight is Grant Boulevard. They didn't participate last semester, but I believe they did in the fall. They are a small clothing boutique online and in person. There's a store in West Philadelphia where they recycle clothing. So all of their pieces are from clothing that was, scraps or previously clothing. And then they train and employ formerly incarcerated women to repurpose and redesign the clothing into these really fashionable pieces. One of one pieces they say that you won't find somewhere else. So that has a dual mission, repurposing clothing, cutting down on fast fashion and clothing waste, and also giving people skills and bringing them back into the community. I believe this company also just recently got a grant from Beyonce. So they've from Beyonce's foundation. So they're doing some really creative things. Trying to think of some of my other companies that we have here. Well, I can give some high level bullets, mostly because the trade rules are going to depend very widely based on the what you're importing, what you're trading. So, for example, for clothing, I believe there's certain. Again, I'm not a authority on the harmonized tariff schedule, but I believe there's certain quotas of clothing per country because we don't want to compete with, or maybe cotton textiles. We don't want to compete with our own cotton growing industry here. So the specific rules will vary very widely based on the industry. I can say what I teach in my class. I teach a class on business in Africa and the Middle East. In the past, I've taught doing business in Latin America. Is that culture is a very underestimated part of business. So, and probably the biggest issue is that we as the U.S. are very business oriented. We're very largely transactional. We are very polite to each other, and we do engage in social banter. But we can do that with anybody. We don't have to have a close relationship with someone to do business with them. Whereas in other countries, so we could expect to, if we're having a business meeting in New York, we come to the meeting, we meet for 3 hours, maybe we go out to lunch afterwards, and that's it. We've completed the discussion. Whereas in other, most of the world, most of the global South, but especially Asia, Africa, Latin America, Middle East, you will have to spend several days getting to know people over that time, and things may progress a lot more slowly, which I think people, as Americans, they see that is inefficient and not productive. So we get frustrated, which also doesn't contribute to the relationship at all. So I think that's one of the biggest things, to really consider culture and slow yourself down, get to know some of the language if you can, and always look for partners that can help you. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, sure. So you can see my name at the bottom, and I work at Temple University in Philadelphia. So my email is just carrie.slade@temple.edu. I'll put it in the chat. I'm not sure. I guess I can put it in the comments here. No, I can't. Hold on. I couldn't add it to the comments, so I put it in the private chat. But you can also Google me, and my email's on the website, so you should be able to find me there as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, you said LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just one. Just one. No. Yes. A little bit more. Wow. Yeah. So you mean tap into the program, Ronald, or do you mean form their own program? Okay. Well, my as a professor, my first priority is the students. So another thing I should add, what we do is, which I implemented, is give a 360 review for every student to review his or her supervisor. Now, some of the supervisors want a copy of that review and some don't, and that's fine. I respect their decision on that. But I get to see what the student experience was. And I've seen that the more you do build a relationship with a student, I have a friend of mine, she's creates an amazing team atmosphere, and she's had a couple of interns stay on, and they're just so hungry to talk with her and interact with her because she makes them feel valued and important and has created a team. So the more that you can build that relationship, even it really just takes 2 minutes per meeting, start the meeting with 2 to 5 minutes of conversation and then move on to your business. The students are more invested, you'll get a better result, and you'll get a good review at the end, which means you'll be able to stay in the program and thrive. All right. Thanks a lot, Ronald. It was great to be here to talk with you. All right. Bye-bye.